To have the opportunity to speak with all of you about Cornell Plantations. It's beginning to look, excuse me, it's beginning to look a lot like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. In fact, yesterday it felt more like 2 weeks before the 4th of July. But I feel that seasonal weather will soon be upon us. Certainly at Cornell Plantations, it means a real shift as we go from the growing season to the off-season. But I hope through today's comments and images, you'll develop an appreciation for how Cornell Plantations is a series of resources to be visited and used throughout the year. So Eileen McCoy-Wong has generously offered to serve as my advancer today. So next. Cornell Plantations is the botanical garden of the university, made up of 14 separate theme gardens, including, as you can see here, the Young Flower Garden, and in the distance, the Robeson York State Herb Garden. Next. But we are also the F.R. Newman Arboretum, named for F.R. Flood Newman, who was the primary philanthropist who funded the Newman Arboretum expansion. The Arboretum consists of approximately 150 acres. We have major collections of maples, oaks, dogwoods, cherries, pines, and spruces. And as you can see in this image, which could be taken right now, the Arboretum is a beautiful location in spring, summer, fall, and really even into the winter when it becomes a site for winter recreation. A lot of cross-country skiing, sledding, etc. Next. We are also the Mundy Wildflower Garden, a beautiful 25-acre wooded tract in which we use horticultural techniques to display and evaluate spring ephemerals and other native wildflowers in a wooded setting. Next. Cornell Plantations also manages, on behalf of the university, over 4,000 acres of natural areas, including both of our deep-cut gorges, Cascadilla Gorge and Fall Creek Gorge. The natural areas include an incredible diversity of sites that represent virtually every habitat type that can be found in central New York. Next. We are currently working with the university administration to restore the gorge trails in both Cascadilla and Fall Creek Gorge. The university has thus far contributed over $1 million to the restoration of the Cascadilla Gorge Trail. Next. And as these images show, the Cascadilla Gorge Trail is fraught with inherent issues. The gorge walls are made up of shale, and that shale is very, very unstable. So in fact, every winter, much of that shale winds up down on the trails, winds up damaging railings or staircases. The work that we're doing right now is really quite interesting. This is, as you can see, immediately below the Stewart Avenue Bridge, and this wall is particularly unstable to the point where my own staff doesn't want to walk under there. So we are literally moving the trail into the creek so that as shale continues to come down onto the trail below, pedestrians using that trail will be safe. Next. Cornell Plantations is also a museum. It's a museum of living plants, and we have over 7,000 accession plants representing over 2,000 unique taxa in the botanical garden, the arboretum, and wildflower garden. Next. Cornell Plantations is also a place for people to learn and to reconnect with nature. So whether that reconnection is taking place as part of a wildflower or native area walk with Robert Wesley, our staff botanist, next, or whether it's taking place as part of our Natural Areas Academy, in which we train interested volunteers in all aspects of how to manage and steward natural areas, and those individuals then give back to us by actually stewarding those particular natural areas. We are always in the process of educating. And here you can see our wildflower gardener, Chrissy Boyes, leading one of those Natural Areas Academy sessions. Next. We educate different audiences from different backgrounds, but all of our education relates to how people and plants and the natural world are all interrelated and codependent. So in the lower right, you can see one of our past summer Cornell interns working in the herb garden, and in the upper, actually that's the right, in your upper right, you can see some of our youth education coordinators educating a group of 4-H teen leaders. Next. All audiences are critical to us, but perhaps none more so than young children, kids in the elementary ages. And we are very grateful that we're able to be part of a program called Kids Discover the Trail, which is jointly sponsored by the Discovery Trail, our local consortium of 7 museums and the Tompkins County Library, along with the Ithaca City School District, Trumansburg School District, and the Ithaca Public Education Initiative. So the way that Kids Discover the Trail, or KDT, works is that each of the students from pre-kindergarten through 5th grade visit one of the Discovery Trail sites for a curriculum-led program. And Cornell Plantations is the site for all 3rd graders to explore the wildflower garden, to have a pre-visit experience in their classroom in which they learn about what is a wildflower, and then a tour of the wildflower garden in which each student receives a copy of the Peterson Junior Guide to Wildflowers. And there's our wonderful youth education coordinator, Raylene Ludgate. Next. We're also interested in older kids, certainly Cornell undergraduates, and there are many, many undergraduate courses which utilize the Plantations resources as outdoor living labs. We also direct a small graduate program in public garden leadership. And here you can see our Director of Education, Sonia Skelly, who co-directs the program with me, and some of our recent alumni of that program. These will be the future, and in some cases, the current leaders in the public garden field. Next. But sometimes Cornell Plantations is most valuable to an individual as a place to get away from it all, as a place of solitude, a place to reconnect with nature, a place to rebalance one's life, So whether one is out for a solitary walk with your dog on a Sunday morning, or viewing a sunrise early in the morning, Cornell Plantations is open. We have no gates, no fences for the most part, and it's open every day of the year. So let's go on. And next. Cornell Plantations is also about history, about where have we come from. And one of our more interesting and quirky bits of history is this series of sculptures that were created back in the 1960s by the students of a Professor Jack Squire. The story, which Professor Squire recently confirmed for me, is that he had his students create a series of tabletop sculptures based very much on the pop art, op art form that was popular back in the 60s. Professor Squire was so taken with what the students had done that he asked the university administration's permission to have the students create full-sized versions of those sculptures. The university agreed and suggested that the sculptures be built out in the cow pastures. Little did anyone recognize that those cow pastures would later become the main part of the F.R. Newman Arboretum. So the sculptures are still there for the most part. Next. And just recently, through a generous alumnus gift, we have added an interpretive sign and have put nameplates on each of the sculptures so that visitors can see who created those pieces. Next. We also celebrate our history in the form of the individual who first conceived of Cornell Plantations and gave us our name, Liberty Hyde Bailey, the first dean of the College of Agriculture, the author of over 90 books, the creator of the cooperative extension system. Bailey envisioned a green horseshoe that would surround the main body of the Cornell campus and would consist of a botanical garden, an arboretum, the two gorges, and the campus's agricultural research fields. In the 60-plus years since Bailey first provided that vision in 1944, we have in fact become the first three of the things that he had envisioned: a botanical garden, an arboretum, and natural areas, and are very glad to leave the agricultural research fields to the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. Bailey really was a giant, and in conceiving of Plantations, he stated, "We have at Cornell a new type of botanical garden, not a botanical garden and arboretum that is merely an adjunct to a department of botany. It is far broader in its purpose. It is a project set up by the Friends of Things That Grow to unify into one organic whole a enterprises that are based on the land." And I would like to think that years later, we continue to build upon and carry out Bailey's vision. Next. But we are also very much focused on the future. And one of the ways that